On this vote, the yeas are 230, the nays are 197, present is 1. Article 1 is adopted. On this vote, the yeas are 229, the nays are 198, present is 1. Article 2 is adopted. Just want to add that one person who isn't with us physically in this room, but I know was present all day for the deliberations, our chair of the Gov Reform, our Oversight Committee chair, our North Star, Elijah Cummings. He said, when the history books are written about this tumultuous era, I want them to show that I was among those in the House of Representatives who stood up to lawlessness and tyranny. He also said, somewhat presciently, when we're dancing with the angels, the question will be, what did you do to make sure we kept our democracy intact? We did all we could, Elijah. We passed the 2 articles of impeachment. The president is impeached.
Donald Trump is now officially the 3rd president in American history to be impeached. The House passed Article 1, Abuse of Power, 230 to 197, and passed Article 2, Obstruction of Congress, 229 to 198. This is a moment that, regardless of what happens after this point, will forever stain the reputation of the 45th president of the United States. And in a moment of grace and class, Speaker Pelosi took the opportunity to pay homage to the late chairman of the Oversight Committee, Elijah Cummings, who just before his passing showed just what an enormous and irreplaceable figure he was by saying this.
When we're dancing with the angels, the question will be asked, in 2019, what did we do to make sure we kept our democracy intact? Did we stand on the sidelines and say nothing? Did we play games? And I'm tired of these statements saying, people come in here and say, oh, this is the first hearing. It is not the first hearing. The first hearing was with regard to prescription drugs. Remember, a little girl, a lady sat there, Miss Wortham, her daughter died because she could not get $333 a month in insulin. That was our first hearing. Second hearing, H.R. 1, voting rights, corruption in government. Come on now. We can do more than one thing. And we have got to get back to normal.
And so now we can find solace in the fact that in what has seemed like a government where corruption had completely taken over, a government where criminality and destruction and depravity had become the norm, that there is at least a momentary sense of accountability. After witnessing the President of the United States withhold military assistance to extort a foreign country for dirt in the next election, hide the summary of the call that revealed that conditionality, admit to it on national television, get his attorney general to try and bury the whistleblower complaint exposing all of it, suggest then that China also interfere in our election to investigate his political opponent, block his administration officials from responding to legally binding subpoenas and testifying to Congress, refusing to give even a single document to Congress as they conducted the impeachment inquiry and did rightful oversight of this administration. After all of it, the President of the United States has finally been held to account. And of course this isn't finished. While the House has upheld the Constitution, it's now time for the Senate to uphold their oath of office for a fair trial, a real trial where we actually hear from witnesses with knowledge of Trump's behavior. The American people deserve to hear from John Bolton and Mick Mulvaney and Rudy Giuliani and Mike Pence and even Donald Trump himself, all of whom have been credibly implicated in the schemes that have occurred over the last several months. The American people deserve a trial where the senators who act as jurors are truly neutral, truly impartial, and truly willing to listen to the facts as they carry out their oath of office. A trial where behavior like this isn't accepted.
And everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this to the extent that we can. We don't have the kind of ball control on this that a typical issue, for example, comes over for the House. If I don't like it, we don't take it up. We have no choice but to take it up, but we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the well of the Senate.
And look, none of us are so naive to think that Republican senators will all be able to surmount the caucus's blinding partisanship. We don't know if we'll have 0, 5, or 20 defectors, but for now, the point is that insofar as where we find ourselves right now, tonight, justice has been served. Because while he hasn't been removed from office, consider at the very least that this is a president obsessed with his name, his brand, his ego, all of which has now been forever tarnished by impeachment. This is something that will never go away. For a president for whom shame for what he's done seems non-existent, know that there is 0 part of him that wants this asterisk forever next to his name. And yet, despite all of this, I do have to give Trump credit on a few different items. And that is that finally, on the floor of the House, on 2 separate counts, he won a popular vote. He also took the record for the most votes ever acquired on an article of impeachment in the House of Representatives with 230. He even took the number 2 spot for his other article of impeachment with 229. So for a president desperate to make history, at least he had a few, well, wins tonight. So while we're grateful that Democrats in the House stood up for justice, we nonetheless keep fighting into tomorrow. Because this is a president who will continue to flout the law, backed by a party that will continue to let him do it. Although, as Martin Luther King Jr. once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.